Feeling good, Sarah? Okay, 1 minute to go on the first stage.
Go on, you can do it, you can do it. That was intense. Now we get asked a lot of questions at the running channel, and one of our most common ones is, what is VO2 max?
Simply put, it's the maximum amount of oxygen that your muscles can use per minute. And usually you'd measure it, if you wanted to be as accurate as possible, in the lab with some pretty expensive and pretty involved equipment.
It's also measured on a lot of smartwatches, and another question we get is, how accurate is your VO2 max score on your watch?
That's what we wanted to find out. Let's roll the tape.
You feeling good, Sarah?
So the mask here is directly measuring our oxygen uptake, as opposed to, of course, a watch, which ultimately is estimating your VO2 max using indirect measures like heart rate.
You sound good in the mask as well.
You gave me banter straight away.
Yeah.
We definitely need one of these masks in the office. If it stops Sarah from talking.
Can't help it.
But yeah, the mask on your face, it just feels so alien. When you're running, you obviously want as much space around where you're breathing as possible, but having that on, and then there's quite a lot of stuff on, and then having blood taken as well.
Yeah, so they're taking your blood because throughout the first part of the test, they're measuring your blood lactate levels. So the level of lactate accumulates the faster you go, and the further into oxygen debt that you go, so the less you're able to process and remove that lactate from the blood. So ultimately it's a measure of how aerobically you're working.
Really great job, Sarah. Nice and relaxed. It's a really good solid pace now.
I was already tired because you don't really have an awareness of kind of how fast you're going, and I knew that I was still having to go at my max at some point later in the day.
So in the first part of this test, we're measuring by stepping up through the different speeds what point your kind of lactate threshold is, so defining your threshold speed really. You're going to start going up in 1 minute segments where the pace goes up 1 kilometre an hour every minute until you just can't go anymore, and there's no end to that.
No.
Let's go, Sarah. You got this. Just stay as relaxed as you can. Keep your shoulders down. Stay nice and tall. Think about good running form. Take your mind off it. Think about your running form.
I'm not sure how good a motivator I was in the background.
I don't think there's anything anyone else can do in that situation, because you're so, I think with the mask as well, it really makes it feel like you're in your head. You've got no control, really. Someone else is dictating the speed. All you have to do is just keep moving.
And not give up.
And not give up.
Up to 13, let's go. Stay nice and relaxed, shoulders down, nice and tall. Good form running. 30 seconds, Sarah, let's go. 14k, Sarah, 14k an hour.
I was at 14k an hour. So you're definitely working pretty hard here.
Yeah.
Because after this it goes up to 4-minute Ks.
Yeah.
Stay focused, Sarah, stay focused. 15, Sarah, 15. You're looking amazing, you're doing such a good job. Really, really nice. Great job, Sarah, keep driving your arms.
The negative side of your brain is going like, well, don't get off now, there are people watching, they're filming this, you can't f this up.
Up to 16, Sarah, up to 16, pick it up, you've still got this.
I found it gets hard really quickly.
Yeah.
So you feel comfortable, and then all of a sudden you cross a line where it's not comfortable anymore.
Yeah, I think you can see my blinking here. It's literally me going, yeah, and there we go. I can't do it.
So I was talking about it gets hard really fast.
Great job, Sarah. Seriously, great job.
Rate of perceived exertion, RPE. So when you finish there, do you think you hit 10? Like were you 10 out of 10 all out?
Well, I think mentally, yes. Mentally, I had
Really
battled with my brain the whole way through that. I had been ill in the week leading up to that, still feeling a little bit rubbish.
My goal was 15.
Goal was 15?
Yeah. And then my goal became 17 because that's what you said yours was going to be. so then I got competitive. But a minute's quite a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 5 minutes later, I mean, for a good 5 to 10 minutes after this, I was ruined.
Yes. but then you start questioning whether you actually found your limit.
Yeah, and then as soon as you stop, you're like, oh, I probably could have carried on for a bit longer. So I don't know.
So I started at 12k an hour, now we're up to 13k an hour for my second one.
Then it's time for the first finger prick.
So at this point, feeling pretty comfortable, but as I was saying to you, it hits you very quickly. So it goes from like, I'm pretty chilled out to, oh my God, how am I ever going to keep going for that?
Especially when you have to stop as well, jumping back on for another 4 minutes. It's brutal.
I was lucky enough throughout my career to do both lab tests and field tests where we'd take lactate samples in the field, like out in the park where I was running, to make sure I was actually running exactly the right intensity for my threshold runs, so not stepping over into that anaerobic zone. And I got to the point where I was really good, really accurate with my heart rate, so that if I ran to within 1 or 2 beats of my heart rate, I was exactly the right kind of intensity, that level.
How
of...
do they do it in the field? Someone on a bike?
Someone was on a bike with me and they would stop and take a sample from my ear usually, not my finger, but the same thing. So I'd have like a 20 second break.
Up now to 17 kilometers per hour. So now we're going into the VO2 Max Test. We're increasing every minute, we're going up. We are now on 18 kilometers an hour.
So we've stepped right up to the end of the test here, and it's really stepping up 18k an hour, which actually is slower than what my threshold run used to be previously, which is, all of this is running through my mind. I've done this before. The numbers are really depressing because I'm so much slower than I used to be. I feel slower, and I just don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to go for.
We're on 19 kilometers an hour, 20 seconds to go. For context, we're getting quite close to world record half marathon and marathon pace. I'm not sure Andy wants to know that.
I did not like you being
giving a bit of context there.
I did not enjoy being reminded about Kipchoge's marathon pace and the fact that someone could do this for hours and I was barely managing to do it for a minute.
Looking strong, Andy. Hold on, don't give up. Up we go. 20 kilometers an hour. Come on, Andy.
So into 20k an hour, and I'm making this look hard work.
Yeah.
Definitely sweating.
You can see you're looking down, checking your feet.
Yes, I'm
doing anything. Looking at the big red button on the treadmill.
Yeah, I'm at this point now where it's really switched over. I'm thinking in my mind, how much longer can I go? The problem with these is that you've got these 1 minute intervals and you're thinking, just get to the end of the next one, and you're just not sure that you can do it.
Oh, I remember this moment.
Oh, I thought about it, yeah. I thought about it twice and then I binned it, I couldn't do it.
But I think that is the elite mentality, isn't it? Like, you definitely, like here, you look so much more broken than I was, but I think like you're so much more used to pushing yourself. You know where your max is, which I think for the average runner, like I definitely have no idea of where's broken.
Running to exhaustion is so difficult, and ultimately it's the only way to run a true PB, to get your absolute best out of yourself, is to run a nice even pace so you know you haven't screwed yourself over with the pace, and to finish a race on your red line. And that's what I trained for 10, 15 years to learn how to do that. And loads of people would always say to me, oh, it's easy for you, you're faster. I'll say, I guarantee that that's not true. That actually I can bury myself more, and that's the skill. So yes, I'm faster, and yes, I'm well trained, and so I'm more used to it. But I probably, my like 10 out of 10 effort is, or was, I don't know whether it is anymore, I can't do it anymore, was like, that's what you pride yourself on as an athlete, is that you can go deeper than somebody else.
Okay, so before we get into the results, I guess a question that loads of people will have at this point is, why should I care about my VO2 Max score? If I'm looking at it on my watch, is it a competition to have with my friends? Should I be using it in training every week? Why is it there?
Probably neither of those two things that you mentioned, actually. So definitely don't compare to anyone else. It's quite an independent, individual score that you should look at over a longer period of time, so not week on week, or definitely not day by day. It's a measure of your aerobic capacity, your ability, your endurance, I suppose. And the key thing, regardless of actually how accurate anything is that it's a number that you should look at relative to itself. So if you've got a VO2 max of something today, then ultimately you want to look to maintain that or improve it. And that's what your watch is trying to show you. So things like training status, whether it's productive or not, whether you've got the right balance of aerobic and anaerobic training, that's what's going to give you that progression over time and make sure you're doing the right types of training. And VO2 max is the benchmark that shows you whether that's kind of improving and you're doing the right things.
Another question that we always get is in regards to trail running. People always say, my VO2 max is wrong, I went out on the trails and it's gone down, why is this happening?
Well, if you normally run on the road, then you'll be used to running at a certain pace and heart rate. It's easier to run on a flat road than it is to run up a steep trail in the mountains. And if your watch has based your VO2 max score off normally running on the road, and then all of a sudden you start doing a lot of running that's off-road, it'll be slower, you'll have a higher heart rate, so your watch will think that you're less fit if it doesn't understand that that's the kind of running you're doing. So actually you can, on the Garmin's in particular, choose something called a VO2 max for trail, or trail VO2 max, which will then take that into account and not impact your kind of main overall VO2 max score.
Oh, good. So if you are a road runner, don't be afraid to go out to the trails. Right, now.
No, definitely not. Mix it up.
I went first in the test, so I guess it's first that I get my results first as well. My watch today is showing a VO2 max score of 52.
Okay, well, let's see how close you got in that test.
Oh, it's like exam results.
Am I going to reveal it as well?
Yeah, go on, you reveal it. Oh, I can't look.
Oh, here we go, here we go.
Oh.
49.
Oh,
yeah.
My maths isn't very quick, but that's pretty close percentage.
Yeah, it's probably 5 or 6% out. And actually, interestingly, I think we should at this point put in a caveat that when we spoke to the physiologist on the day, you said you'd been ill, and actually we joked about whether you'd reached your max, but you were not feeling the best, and perhaps, I'm not saying that you would have got it right up to 52, but that's pretty accurate already, but we think that yours might have been maybe one higher or something.
Rounding up thing.
Yeah, you want it to be 50. Maybe you just made it up.
50.
Maybe you just made it up. Now it's the moment of truth for me. So actually, way back in the day, I had a VO2 max, which I was very proud of, which was up in the high 70s, I think 78 or 79. Right now, my watch says my VO2 max is 62, based on being 10 years past my prime, and at least.
You're going to say past your sell by.
Well, I am that as well. So 62 is what my watch thinks. Let's find out what the lab thinks.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
60.
Oh, 60, 60 and 62. So quick maths, 3 would have been 5%. So well within 5% accuracy, probably 3 or 4% out, measuring slightly under. So yeah, I think overall those are pretty impressive.
But I think the key with both of these numbers is that, as you say, it's to use it and we want these numbers to go up. Yeah. So we can still use these figures on our watches and monitor our progress over time. I'm in a training block now for Berlin Marathon.
Yeah. It's a really good benchmark, and I actually think I'm pleasantly surprised at how accurate they are. You know, my watch saying 62 and 60, that's really close. It should give people at home like a pretty good indicator that you don't, it costs a lot of money to go and do a lab test. As you saw, it's really hard work. Whereas actually, if you set the watch up right, if you set the watch up right and you've got the most accurate heart rate reading, whether that's through a strap or a good fit on your wrist, and you've done enough exercise to give you an accurate reading, then actually it's a really good benchmark for that figure. And then you should use it to measure your own progress, rather than thinking to yourself, oh wow, well, Paula Radcliffe's VO2 max was this, or Eliud Kipchoge's got a VO2 max of this. That's broadly irrelevant. Just think about your own progress.
Yeah. Have you got any other VO2 max questions, or are there any other features on your watch that you want us to go out and test? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.